I've been teaching architecture in urban design in Rio since 2002. So it's quite long time. And I was as an architect where I lived for a long while, 15 years. And so by going back to Brazil in 2002, I tried for several years to develop kind of approach of architecture French people are used to in French schools that is mostly based on theory and history, all about architectural culture. It's a very intellectual approach to architecture, very aesthetical one. So I try to bring this, but France and Brazil are very different contexts, as you. Also, in France, everything is turns around government action, government policy. Everything is kind of controlled, and architects in urban design are used to work for or in government plans and actions. So things in Brazil are different. We are a kind of developing country, and these last years, I would say the decade was very important for us, kind of very growing period, economically speaking. And but we were kind of not really prepared for this growth, and our government sphere are really not prepared, and there is a kind of tradition for policy to be defined or driven by private interests. And in Rio, it's a very special case because we were for the capital country, so we lost somehow this status. We lost it in the 60s when Brasilia was the capital. So the city went through a long process of decline, of economic and social decline, and sort of problems raised from this situation. And so we are now in the process of regrowing, of redevelopment of the city, especially because of the events like the Olympics that are coming next year. So the city is really struggling to see how to better plan the territory, but the idea about the compact city or something that is a kind of postmodern idea of the city. So compact city, it's where the most of the investments are put or done. I will show you some operations underway. And the periphery is a kind of bedroom community. It's defined as, and Rio is very special because there is this huge difference between the very fancy neighborhoods along the shore, where the postcards are, the touristic area, and I would say the more real city, real in terms of reality. People actually live. Most of the people actually live. They to commute every day to go to their work. So the distances are really big. Why? Because we have a very quite big territory as a municipality territory, city administration, under the city administration. So there are a lot of territory to develop yet. So I've been working on this the concept of the expanded city. It's kind of a way to question or to raise question about the expansion of the city, because there is this kind of polemics about the expansion of the city. So the city doesn't want to think about expanding the city, but instead concentrating all the investments in the more central area. So this is a picture showing a quite distant neighborhood in Rio. It's the westernmost part of Rio. And as you can see, there are some informal settlements, kind of more conventional ones with networks of streets, quite well done. Several new developments of housing developments, social housing, Minha Casa Minha Vida, my house, my life. It's a federal program for social housing, and so these are quite cheap land compared to the more central areas. And in this program, the land has to be part of the deal with the private sector. So the private developer has to come with the land as part of the way to get the money from the bank, and then have people buying because it's to sell apartment. So the more the land is cheap, the more the gap or the profit big for the developer. So that's why they are putting this housing so far away. So that there is also this problem, and so everything you are looking at is the kind of very dormitory kind of neighborhood, and people have to travel there like 1 hour and a half to 2 hours by bus to go to work. There is also a train connecting this neighborhood and several other ones along the northern part of the city to the city center. But it's quite the same kind of half 1.5 ride to go to the city center. So this is just to locate the state of Rio, just for you to understand what I was talking about. So this is the state of Rio. Is mostly along the Atlantic Ocean, and this is the metropolitan region of the city of Rio, and we'll see this is the city of Rio is the bigger municipality of the metropolitan region, and this is the Guanabara Bay, so the main bay of Rio where the Sugarloaf is located, just at the entrance, and this is another bay to the west, and there is a new port being there. In Newport, they will be connected by, that is not actually already connected to road and railway networks. So this port is becoming more important than the central. So this is for you to understand, at least those who were not already introduced to the city. So this is very important to understand how the city developed from the more central area. So this is a very historical city center from the colonial times. So this is the Guanabara Bay. So you see the red here is the territory of the city, under the city administration. So I will compare to the next slide, just would be nice for you to see. So I put Rio and kind of more central part of Netherlands in the same scale. And this is the city administration territory of Rio. So you can see from Rotterdam to Amsterdam. So it's quite big territory for one. So just going back to the slide. So for you to understand that the most part of the city is out of the port because the ports are to the seafront, and they are kind of disconnection because of the mountains, ridge. So you have this kind of here, and the Olympics will be here to this more central here. It's also a periphery of Rio, but you see it's kind of enclaved by the mountains. It's a kind of very quite fancy neighborhood because of the beach and the lagoons. Several problems of environmental problems, so environmental issues with sewage and protection of mangroves and everything. So the city is now there are several kind of lines of transportation that are coming to this neighborhood. There is very low density because it's very wide and very recently developed. So kind of paradise for real estate because you have a very long beach and a lot of land to still be developed in the kind of Miami Beach-like way of development. So shopping malls and all the stuff, gated communities, no pedestrians. So they are expanding the subway line to this neighborhood, but the subway will just arrive here at the very beginning of the neighborhood, coming from the more central areas. And then there are already kind of bus rapid transport, so these segregated bus lines. They're connecting the subway to the Olympic sites, and that's the amazing thing. And they are also connecting this area. There are development as kind of job area to Santa Cruz, this westernmost area that was at the first slide, was a picture from this area here. So you can see the distance. So this is a kind of 2 hours, 1.5 hours to 2 hours, bus segregated ride. So there is no traffic jam in these segregated lines, but this is the time it takes to go from here to here. And this northern part is the older one because it was before developed because of the rail lines that comes from the central station here. So there's a kind of network of railroads. That's why the most of the population, the poor or the lower incomes, live here, and the higher incomes are to the south. So there is a very huge gap, socially speaking, and I would say environmentally speaking, because there are no leisure areas or parks or anything to the north. And then after the borders or beyond the borders of the city administration territory, so you have the metropolitan regions. So other cities that are connected to Rio, there are also dormitory communities. So all this kind of people have to come to the city center mostly, or the more higher income area to work, because there are very few very few jobs to this part. So this is for you to understand how this city is concentrated. You can really see the difference between the urbanized and non-urbanized land. Very different from the Netherlands. And also what I was talking about, this network of rail lines. So this is only the rail, like here. So you can see this very, concentrate. Everything is coming to the city center. Even from here, they are building a new line that will connect Itaboraí to Niterói and then the boat to the other side of the bay. Oh, yes, so this is to show you a former plan by a French guy in the 30s that was trying to understand how the city could or should develop. So this was a crazy subway line, very long distance. I don't know how they will do this. But you see in the 30s the city was already to the north, and there was nothing here. So this is the 1990s situation. So you have in orange the more urbanized areas. So you can see also this developed to the north, and the kind of imbalance between this part and this, and everything being administrated by the same government. So you can see the beginning of the urbanization here to this Long Beach. So this is the growing of the urbanized areas from the 90s to 2010. You can see most of the city was already there, but you see the more red dots or parts are to the west because of this land that is still available and quite cheap compared to the more central areas. And this situation is it is changing right now because of this ring road. It's now almost complete. It's completed to this part. This is being done, but all this part is already in use. This is the new port, and we are thinking that this infrastructure and the new port will change somehow the relationship to the city center, because this will become kind of new centrality, economically speaking, that is attracting new jobs, because it's becoming a huge port for container ships, because it's more accessible for big ships. So it's part of the strategy of the city and even the government of the state to have the state of Rio becoming a kind of very main hub for the South Atlantic. So so these two ports are competing right now. This one is enclaved by the city. It's becoming more and more difficult to get there. If you arrive in Rio right now, you will see canoes everywhere between the airport and the city, because there is no place to stock them. So it's a real problem of accessibility to the port here, because freight has to through the city, and this is a real problem. There are a lot of informal settlements, very dense areas. So this port is much more efficient in terms of freight transportation. And all this you are seeing here is very flat area, so very easy to urbanize. And our problem is that right now the city is still thinking about the old and more central areas to redevelop them as a strategy. You have a huge operation going on right now along the port, because the port changed in terms of a way of dealing with way of transporting things. So this area in red here is being redeveloped, and a lot of money is being put there. This is a more industrial area. So there is this huge imbalance or contrast between money coming even from here and being put here, and a lot of people just living here but working there. So we are a little bit afraid of this kind of opportunity, especially because as the government is not really aiming to implement new infrastructure for housing or even for expanding the city there. So it's kind of non-problem. And we all know what this means. It means that this territory will be occupied by informal settlements, because as it's not under land, so people will settle there. And so this will certainly become a new kind of very poor and precarious area of living, because it's attracting people there. So the idea of expanded city is to understand that, yes, for sure, we are not wanting to densify this area in terms of what has been done here, but how to manage or envision a kind of lower density occupation of the territory that could at least avoid very bad way of occupying territory by informality. So this is for you to better see the new infrastructure. So this is the ring road. The ring road is intended to connect the main roads, the main highways to Rio. So this is the axis connecting to São Paulo. This is to Brasilia and the more central areas to Brazil, and this goes to the north of Brazil. So the ring road wants to connect the all the freight before it comes to the more central areas. So that's why there is this competition between the two ports also. And you see all this flat land here. It's for now unoccupied. We can still see cows like here, but it's another way of thinking. So this is the industrial district. And this is also important because the growth in population is much higher to the west than to the east. So the east is very urbanized, very dense, very populated, but is losing population compared to the west. So there is also this imbalance because people are going there because it's cheaper. As we went through this development process during the last decade, and especially in Rio, because the more fancy areas are so tiny, so the land costs are very high. So that's why people are migrating towards the more cheap part. There are a lot of friends of mine that moved from Copacabana, for example, to Barra da Tijuca, to the west, because it's cheaper to buy an apartment there. So this is becoming a problem because these people still have to move to the more central areas to work, because there is no really way of developing, or there is no development of economic activity to the west. It's just dormitory. And you see this is an attempt to kind of identify the free land. So the very the part that has this potential to be occupied. And the gray zone is the already urbanized area. So this is for you just to see how this new ring road crosses a very quite farmland area. And there is also this problem that a lot of farmland that produce food to the city are to the west, and there is this growing stress or competition between the housing progress and the farmland. What is more has more profit? So this will probably create a problem of food in the city coming to the markets. So this is very interesting also. So AP is área de planejamento, so it's the planning areas of the city. So the AP5 is the more recent one. So it's kind of inverted. This is to the west and this is to the east. So this is a more central area. So you have a lot of employment and very few housing, very few population living there. And to the west is the opposite. So you have a lot of people living there and very few jobs. This is around Copacabana and the postcards here, so it's kind of around. This is around Barra da Tijuca, so where the Olympics will be held. So quite a lot of people, but not very. No, this is not. This is Barra. So this is to the north. This is a very touristic way of looking at Rio, and I think this is not only for tourists, unfortunately, because I think the mayor or the administration has also this kind of picture in mind, just the appealing areas, strategically speaking. So there's São Paulo, it's kind of a New Yorker way of viewing the countryside. So this is the very city center, the more central end. It's just for to show you this elevated highway doesn't exist anymore. So they torn it down and they replaced by a tunnel. A lot of money. And no shift in transport logics. So it's also a driving paradigm. So this is the area for the new Museum of Tomorrow, designed by Calatrava. There are other museums and aquarium, a lot of very appealing infrastructure. But everything is concentrated here, so the rest of the city is just lost. So this is the former port area that is being redeveloped, and to the other side you can see the more recent container area. So this is the opposite view. You see the more central city centers, the financial part of it. The budget here, all this area is being redeveloped. A lot of old buildings, warehouses are being torn down and replaced by offices, mainly offices. See, like this kind of vision. These are the three spheres of government. The mayor of the city. Lula was the president at that time, but still kind of his party in power. and the state governor. So they are opening up, they kind of inaugurating the operation. And these are examples of the developments that are underway. So you see only one residential. Everything is about offices. So this will increase even more traffic jams and problems to transport people there every day.
Você tem mais 15 minutos.
This is also interesting. The circles here represent the Olympic sites, or the area that it will be kind of impacted by the Olympic Games. And in green, you have the favelas, or the slum areas, more central ones, where people are leaving these green areas to go live in this orange kind of Minha Casa Minha Vida. So these are the new housing programs. So people are, we can say, improving. This is official discourse. So they are improving their living conditions because they are leaving their slum areas and going to more formal housing. But they are moving towards this west, very far away. So when they were living here, they could go to their job every day almost by walking. And now they will have to take the BRTs and the trains and everything. So this is also increasing the need for infrastructure. This is just for you to see how few are these, how weak or few are these lines. So they are all buses. The BRT. The BRT. Yeah. And there is this concentration here because of the Olympics. There was kind of part of the deal with the International Olympic Committee to have at least a connection to the airport. So it's kind of out of the logics for the city. So that's why the Olympics are not really, convergent for the city planning as a whole. And this is very, very far away by bus. It's incredible. Kind of bus that are circulating there. This is the picture of Barra da Tijuca. So very, highways everywhere. And you can see it's quite small capacity. There's traffic jams around the more central areas. So people are coming every day in these conditions to work. And these are people waiting to go to Santa Cruz, is the westernmost part. And this is the station in Barra da Tijuca, so it's halfway. This is for you to show. To show you the new planning, a new plan, plan for Rio. It's very recent, and it's for you to understand that it's still concentrating on the city center as the player. And then these areas, it's called assisted or I don't know, helped. Assisted, yes. So they understand that these areas have no economic meaning for the city. So how these people living here just need infrastructure to go to their work in the more central areas. This is called conditioned because there are a lot of environmental problems here with mangroves, hills and former forests that somehow have to be protected or managed. This is a more postcard area. Control is called macrozona control because they want to to keep it as it is. And this is incentivada is so the plan is want this area to be even more densified and developed because it's still understanding that as this area is nearer to the city center, this should be improved. Okay, but what about this whole thing over there? And I will finish with these two pictures. The struggle, the fight between kind of people who speak about compact city. They are quite the same ones that understand the rural areas as something to be preserved as natural land. And there is this kind of way of thinking that the city can only be this, and the countryside can only be this. And this other picture is to show this kind of crazy, cartoon-like idea that the city can be very dense, and then there is this kind of very clear limit beyond which there is no way to have anything done. So it's kind of an island paradigm that understands that the territory around has no meaning for the city itself. And it's crazy way of thinking. That's it.